Call the meeting back to order.
Okay, welcome to the Queen Anne's County Commissioners meeting. This is a public meeting that is being aired live on our local cable television station, QACTV 7. These media broadcasts provide county citizens an opportunity to watch and review our scheduled public meetings. In addition to our live audience this evening, we are providing remote options for citizens to watch and participate in county commissioner meetings. Citizens may watch our meeting live on our Queen Anne's County website at qac.org/live or on our television channel, Breezeline Channel 7 and High Definition Channel 507. Citizens may also participate by joining the live Zoom meeting by going to qac.org/public comment. Citizens may also email comments to publiccomment@qac.org. Comments received will be read during the press and public comment period on this evening's agenda. We acknowledge everybody's participation, and by attending, you acknowledge that this session is both recorded and aired. Press and public comment will be taken and is limited to 3 minutes per person. If you care to speak, please sign the sheet on the information table in our lobby. Comments longer than 3 minutes can be submitted in writing for the Commissioner's review. We will now stand and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Commission Vice President Jack Wilson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We could remain standing for a moment for our men and women that protect us both here and abroad. Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, first order of business is the today's agenda. We have today's agenda for our meeting on July 12th and the regular and closed session minutes from your July 28th meeting, along with the Roads Board meeting minutes from June 28th and the Sanitary Commission minutes from June the 12th. They've all been circulated for your review. Do we have any additions or corrections?
None.
Can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, I'll give you a motion to approve. And Stevie second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's the loudest aye in the house right there.
Right.
That's a 5-0, Margie. With authority from the TV screen. All right.
All right. Before we start our presentations, Commissioners, we just had a closed session under General Provisions Article Section 3305B1 to discuss boards and commissions, and Section 3305B5 to consider the investment of public funds. We do, I believe, have some appointments for 2 of our boards and commissions to make at this time. So, Commissioner Gimeno?
Yeah, I make a motion to reappoint, this is for the Blue Heron Golf Course Advisory Committee. I move to reappoint Jim Riggins and add Kevin Carr to fill the vacancies on the Blue Heron Advisory Committee. These terms will expire on May 31st of 2024.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? 5-0.
I've got one for the Local Management Board. I move to reappoint Colleen Thomas and appoint Pastor Mark Farnell, Ashley Kaiser, Patrick Kirk, and Darina Julia Murga, I hope I didn't butcher that, to fill vacancies on the Local Management Board, Community Partnerships for Children. These terms will expire on June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
5-0. All right,
All right, thank you, Commissioners.
Second delay.
a little bit.
Okay, next we have our first press and public comment period.
No one signed up.
Okay, do we have anybody? Okay, we can move on to
Press and
our,
public comment.
all right. Okay, next up, we have a presentation from Ms. Laura Price, the President of MACO, and Michael Sanderson, the MACO Executive Director. So would you please join us up front here? Welcome.
These come on by themselves?
Yep, you're good.
Yes. I am Laura Everingham Price. I am a Talbot County Council member and the current president of the Maryland Association of Counties. I really appreciate you making time for us on the agenda today. I know it was a little bit last minute, so we're very grateful to be here. And we're going to provide you with an update from the General Assembly. It's been about 3 months since good old sine die. And the good news is we had some opportunities, especially in the last month, to do some things in person as things opened up in the last several weeks before the end. There were probably about 2,700 bills introduced this year. MACO analyzed over 900 of them, and it's very fast and furious the way it comes into the staff. I know I am eternally grateful for all the work that they get done, and a lot of that is because we are very fortunate to have this leader who is to my left, Mr. Michael Sanderson, our executive director. This is the one who keeps it all organized and leads this incredible organization. And it is a real honor to be able to serve with him this year as president. I know there's something that I've said to the legislative committee, and it's because of what Michael has taught me, and getting things done in a very nonpartisan way. So when we meet every Wednesday, when we used to do it in person, and the last couple of years we had to do mostly virtually, we really leave our political hats at the door, and that's really important. To recognize how legislation affects our counties and not necessarily what our personal beliefs in politics are, and make the decisions, based on what's best for all of the counties as a whole. With the political climate that we're in now, that's a really difficult thing to do, and it's the number one thing that I'm going to take away from the 12 years in office, because I'm done. I'm not as crazy as some of you in doing this again. It's definitely something that I wish that state and federal government would model more after the way MACO does things, because we've learned how to actually be effective. And I think one of the main reasons that we are so effective is that even though the staff does all the legwork and Michael does all this legwork, at the end of the day, when we're meeting on Wednesday mornings, and it is the elected officials who are taking those positions. And believe it or not, I think the General Assembly does have some respect for what we do, and we're the ones who are driving the policy that the staff so effectively gets out there to them. Speaking of our legislative committee, I want to thank Commissioner Wilson for being so dedicated for everything he does and all the time that he puts in. Not only does he, obviously attend and speak a lot, like me, on Wednesday mornings. He is the head of our Rural County Coalition, and we get together on Monday evenings and spend anywhere from 1 to 3 hours, depending on how talkative we are, on those issues. And he's just very, very dedicated and really understands the importance of what MACO does. So I want to thank him personally for everything that he's done. He is now an officer on the board of directors and will be in this seat in just a few years. So I'm thankful for that. But everybody that's on the committee really takes a lot of time out of their schedule, busy schedule, to devote to what we do in Annapolis. So appreciate all of the people that are on that committee. And one of the reasons that we come around to all the different counties is we want this to be more of a dialogue. Jack is in the middle of all this, and I'm sure you all, pay attention. But this is your opportunity to have an interactive back and forth with us. We don't want to just present to you. We want to hear the good, bad, and the ugly, what we did right, what we could do better, get clarification on some of the issues that did happen in the General Assembly and upcoming for next year, and tell us what we can, what we can improve upon. We want to make sure that we're involving all of the county council members all the way throughout the year, because we are your resource. So we have some legislative updates that we'd like to do, and I'm going to grab the first topic, and then Michael will hit the rest of them. And the one I just really love, and I love them all, but the emergency transport bill was one that I'm just incredibly proud of, and only MACO could have had this bill happen. For those who aren't aware, the emergency transport reimbursement for all of the counties was only $100, hadn't been raised since prior to 2000, and you only got the $100 if you actually transported to an emergency room. And we all know that things have changed, and our EMTs and paramedics are true health professionals, and they provide a great deal of care, when they are responding to you in the home. And sometimes people don't actually need to be transported, or they refuse to be transported. We may have administered Narcan, and in that case they may not need to go, or they may have fallen and you just don't need to go anywhere. So we will be reimbursed. The rate has been changed now to $150. I think that should go higher, and maybe we'll come back at that to increase the rate again to more properly reflect in a few years. But this is a huge start. But now we can transport other places. It may be an urgent care center that is much more appropriate for someone to go to, and not just an emergency room, which of course is the most expensive form of care as well. But we will also, again, be reimbursed if we don't transport, and recognizing that medical care that they have provided. The other thing where we can be reimbursed now is for the mobile integrated health. And I think you guys were the first ones to do that, if I'm not mistaken. You
Yep.
were the model for the state, and that is being proactive. So I lovingly call these people our frequent flyers, people that call 911 a lot, and they don't have another form of healthcare. So what are they going to do? They're going to call 911. And so now that we have kind of identified who they are, when we're not out on another call, we can go out and be proactive, and also be reimbursed for that as well. In a rural county like Queen Anne's or Talbot County, they may be the house call. But in a larger jurisdiction, Montgomery or Baltimore County, they might set up an ambulance service and on the street corner and do pre-screenings and blood work and various things like that. So now that we're being reimbursed for all these different things, what's important to understand is that Medicare and Medicaid recognizes that as a reimbursable expense, so that if somebody has health insurance, we can now bill their health insurance not just for the transport, but for the non-transport, for the mobile integrated health. And of course, we are absolutely going to respond to any 911 call, whether you have insurance or not. But the important thing is now we can get that in addition. So we want to thank all of the counties for their support of that. But I'm going to say one more thing before I turn it over to him, and that's about the initiatives that we do. Every year, we started a couple of weeks ago with about 35 this year, anywhere from 35 to 50 initiatives that MACO feels like we either need to play defense on and get ahead of, or just being proactive. And we had gotten through narrowing it down to, we can do no more than 4, like our bylaws state. And we had picked 3, highway user revenues, which we'll give you an update on, and some election issues. And we were down to the last one, and it was between cybersecurity or the emergency transport bill. Both incredibly important. But we knew that the cybersecurity bill had legs of its own, that there were going to be legislators who were going to pick that ball up and run with it, and we were going to be there to support them. But MACO was the only one who was going to have this strong voice for the emergency transport bill. And we were really down to it. And I remember Michael saying, I don't know about this one. It's got a big fiscal note, and it might take 2 or 3 years to get this one through. And we were just like, we're the only ones who can do this. And we did it. We got it done. Last few days of session, we were in person, and all the staff was working on this and talking to all the legislators. And it was just a huge win that everybody on all the counties should be very, very proud of. So with that, I will pass it on to our executive director.
Well, thank you all very much for your time this evening. For the viewers' benefit, I'm Michael Sanderson. I'm the director of the Maryland Association of Counties. We're a nonprofit based in Annapolis. We work on state policy issues, and we advocate for, try and support all the services that county governments deliver to Marylanders across the state. I'm pleased to be with you this evening. I want to tack on a couple real quick comments about this emergency management bill. Just because it's a really big deal, and we had no right to be declaring victory over this bill. We got a great bill through, and this should have been a multi-year effort. We threaded a needle, and the only way it comes together is when a bunch of things go right. Mobile integrated health being a part of this bill was a key way to sell it as a forward-thinking thing for larger jurisdictions. A lot of rural counties have been really concerned. Our volunteer companies having trouble recruiting, retaining, and keeping the lights on, and this would help them. We're talking about whether Medicaid recognizes that this is medical service, and whether you can bill an insurance company for it. It's pretty simple policy. It's not complicated at that level. But trying to convince legislative leaders who aren't cuddly with their local volunteer company and see these services differently, the idea of forward-thinking services like mobile integrated health. Like, let's go out and do 300 oral cancer screenings with people who don't have insurance other than Medicaid. This is, we're attacking health disparities, we're attacking public health deserts and so forth. That made a real difference, and having a leading county like Queen Anne's to help say, we're doing it in Maryland and we can do more of it if you recognize that this is proper health care, absolutely made the difference between no bill and a great bill. So we're super happy for that. We distributed a packet of information which is mostly drawn from the Conduit Street blog, a way we try and communicate a lot of different issues. I don't want to go through that in a whole lot of detail. What I'd like to do is just touch on a really short list of things, and if there's something that I miss or something that you all would like to talk about further, that's probably the best use of your time and to be respectful for the rest of your agenda. So let me be real quick on a few things. I tend to sit sometimes in this very chair and speak about fiscal issues, and a lot of times we come back from the legislative session talking about, well, we were fighting against this budget cut or a cost shift, that sort of thing. This wasn't that environment for a variety of reasons, but economic circumstances, the state sitting on what feels like a temporary surplus. It wasn't an environment for a brutal budget battle over $4 million here and $200,000 there and so forth. We had to raise some local issues, and one I want to speak to in particular is kind of this is a little bit technical, but it's worth the minute or two that I want to give it. The state wanted to do some income tax relief. The governor was big on income tax relief for seniors and for retirees. And it became clear that something like that was going to be in the sort of master plan, that legislative leaders and the governor were going to work out of how to make this year's budget plan come together. We've been saying for years to legislative leaders, when you deal with property tax policy, you usually defer to local governments because it's principally a local government revenue. Give the counties a local option tax credit, and if they've got the wherewithal and that policy is important in that jurisdiction, they can decide to go ahead and deal with it and give a break or something like that. And that's a local prerogative because it's principally a local revenue source. For the most part, Annapolis gives us great deference on property taxes. But when it comes to income taxes, the blunt instrument has always been a tax write-off. In Maryland parlance, we call it a subtraction modification. So something you don't write off on your federal taxes, but in Maryland you can. It's called a subtraction modification. You write off $1,000 and it's no longer taxable income. But when the state does that to give someone a tax break on their state income taxes, that's the same taxable income that's the basis for the county income tax. We are always along for the ride on that level of income tax policy. We've been saying for years, trying to send this general statement to the committees that do tax policy, when you consider these sorts of things, the state could do this on your own. You could do a state tax credit and say X dollars as a state credit, and that would just be on the state. It would leave the counties to make their own local decisions. We think that's the better way for county budget should be decided here, not in Annapolis. This year, we pulled a rabbit out of the hat on this. When they came away with the idea that we want to give on the order of $1,000 of tax benefit for retirees in Maryland in a certain income class, they did it as a state-only tax credit rather than a combination state and county tax write-off. It's technical stuff, like that's not going to make page one of your local paper or even the Baltimore Sun or even for the Cub reporters who do nothing but follow the General Assembly. It's too complicated for them, but in this one setting, that's a really big sea change for policymakers in Annapolis to say when it comes to income taxes, there's a way for us to do our thing and let the locals do their own thing. If this is a shift of mindset, that could be one of the bigger takeaways from this session. So forgive me the indulgence. I'm really proud of that outcome. It's a big deal.
I mean, it is huge because we've been sending this letter for about 6 years, and like an advertisement. Don't you have to see it for the 7th time before it finally sinks in? But that's why MACO is so important, because nobody else is going to carry the water and get that message across. And That is huge for all of our counties. And what'd you say, was it $400 or $600 million if
Yeah,
it
the
had gone through?
local effect would have been about $600 million at the local level if the governor's original proposal had just passed and become a big write-off for everybody. Now, they weren't talking about something of that magnitude, but it still would have been a big dent on the locals. Instead, it'll be your call whether you have the wherewithal to give some targeted tax relief in one way or another. So I'll skip to another big fiscal issue, highway user revenues. This is the share of the state's gas tax and tax on vehicles and a couple other things that come back to local governments so that you can maintain your roads and bridges and your local infrastructure. You don't have a local gas tax, you really rely on the state for transportation revenues. This worked great for an awfully long time, for decades and decades. The Great Recession comes along in 2009, we're thrown overboard. We've been clawing our way back since then. In 2018, we got a pretty good deal, but as Annapolis is wont to do, it was multiple years and then you fall off a cliff. 2022, we needed a bill to pass, otherwise we'd be looking at the cliff next year. So we got a bill passed this year. You put in a bill, you swing for the fences, you try and hit a home run. What I'm telling you is we got like a seeing eye single and we got on base. So we did not get full restoration. We had hoped that might, that the cards might come together and happen. For Queen Anne's County, just the county setting aside municipalities, right now your share is on the order of $1.3 million, about 1.3 million per year. Starting next year, that's going to click up for 3 consecutive years and get up to about 2.1. Have a couple of years at that level and then another Annapolis-style cliff. So we'll be back hat in hands probably 4 or so years from now at the end of the next political term, asking for hopefully a full restoration, but perhaps another step in the right direction. Anyway, we didn't fall off the cliff. Instead, we took another step forward. That's moving in the right direction, and we're relatively pleased about that. I had hopes set pretty high. I have to deliver this as half a loaf or some fraction of a loaf.
I'll hit one more side note on this one. Things had moved back to in-person. The Senate chose to go in person. The House continued to stay virtual. But this is where I think we had over 20 jurisdictions. This is how small, large, urban, rural, Republican, Democrat, we all came and we sat in that room and we sat in the first, well, we didn't fit in the front row, several rows, and that power that you could feel being there in person. It was in Budget and Tax in the Senate first. And they really, they were at full restoration. But that's how we all work together. That's why MACO is so important, because this group pulls everybody together so that we can see the big picture and not what happens, just divided. So again, I'm just the cheerleader for all of this, and to see that happen, and that would be my final session, to see everybody together like that was just amazing. And that's why in person is so important too, because the next day we did the very same thing in a virtual, and it just didn't feel the same. And the House was not so friendly to us. And then of course there was a compromise in the middle. But
Your first term, 12 years ago, and mine, we were looking at, what do we get, 6.5 million, Shane, each year for highway user funds? Somewhere in that category of 5 and 6 million? And then to have that just turned off?
yeah, we lost 90%. We all lost 90%. So, yeah.
So that's a really big deal. Let me make real quick mention of 2 other things that have been coming up in these conversations that if you want to talk further about, we certainly can. We had a little bit of a nip and tuck on the police oversight legislation. 2021 was the big year for police reforms. All that stuff, the big police reform bill just took effect on July 1. I know you and the other county governing bodies have been going through the process of creating these civilian oversight boards, the Police Accountability Board and Charging Committee. And so everybody's made a good faith effort to get that up and running locally. Having a county body that oversees municipal police departments is weird. Count yourself lucky that you're not Prince George's, who has something like 25 municipal police departments within their county that all have to operate through this one tree. Everybody's got a challenge to get this up and working. The vision of having civilian oversight is going to come together at the county level, even though the state really didn't do its share with giving us the guidance and regulation that we were promised along the way. So we've all made a good faith effort on that front, and not everybody is quite to the finish line there, but I think everybody's making their way. And finally, I'll just say another thing that's a little bit technical, but it would be unfair for me to leave it unsaid. We made some good gains on election administration. I know elections are at their most exciting when we're talking about who's going to win elections, but somebody has to run elections, and that's county government, principally funded by county government. We have been relying for more than 20 years on the sentence at the back end of a bill from 2001 on when the state picks up their share of a big equipment procurement. When they bought the new voting machines in 2001, after, remember, Bush v. Gore, hanging chads and all that sort of stuff, the state said, we're going to all have the same system. The state picked up half the cost. And we've been in sort of a limbo since then over when does the state chip in for its own procurement, and when do the county just suddenly gets an invoice saying, well, your share is $62,000, pay up. We much prefer the former. We'd like to be part of the selection process and the planning process and have the state pick up half their share. That's codified as of this year. Not thrilling, not super exciting, but for the folks in your financial staff to never get another one of those surprise invoices where we're picking up our entire share of a state project that we knew nothing about, that's a really good step forward. We are potentially going to have some shakiness with this year's election administration, a bill that went through the General Assembly but got vetoed by the governor, dealt with sort of processing of elections and curing of ballots and so forth. The big issue is we're going to have way more mail-in ballots than ever before. There used to be a process for, I'm going to be out of the state, I want an absentee ballot. Then for about a decade, it was absentee on demand, but you had to ask for it. This is our second election where everybody's getting something in the mail saying, if you want to vote by mail, here's how to do so. It's going to be 500,000 people or so are going to vote by mail in this election. And we still have laws in Maryland that say you can't touch those envelopes until after the polls close on Tuesday. We're the only state left that has basically 1970s styles law. So we're in a quirky spot where we're going to have probably the biggest problem will be in the biggest jurisdictions who will have tens of thousands of envelopes to start opening on Tuesday night. I don't know what it'll mean for a medium-sized county here or a tiny-sized county on the shore and so forth, but this may be a difficult election to literally just count the ballots. So Tuesday night could be quirkier than usual, and it's not a great place to be. No one, it's not just as a matter of practicality, but also you don't want the door to be open for people to say, hey, what's going on inside that room? It's like we're ripping open ballots.
Mike, so, can you make some sort of prediction? Obviously, on July 19th, you're going to start counting those. Is it going to be days? Is it going to be weeks?
To be honest, in our biggest jurisdictions, like in the Montgomery County, Baltimore counties of the world with 500,000, 1 million residents and like tens of thousands of ballots that show up in envelopes, I can't fathom that they're done with their counting in any meaningful way on Tuesday night. I don't know if it's Wednesday noon or if it ends up being Friday before you can actually get through. But the process of opening the ballot and make sure it's been signed in the right places and truing up the signature versus what's on the ballot inside is a labor-intensive process. Most states let you get started with that processing, the canvassing of the ballots early. You don't count them, you don't tell anybody what the count is, but you do the pre-processing in advance. Our bill would have said you could start on that. There were other things in the bill that the governor had some process objections to on the curing side. So we have baby and bathwater all out on that because of that veto. So it could be a quirky year this year where we're twiddling thumbs on Thursday looking at many elections where not just this one's down to 0.5%, but there's like we have 30% of the vote we just haven't been able to count yet. It'll be weird. So just in case you needed more fun and activity to focus on with state politics.
So this time next week, everybody's going to be sweating it.
So that said, that's a quick skip through of a handful of policy issues. MACO, where we take seriously the privilege of representing and serving county governments in Annapolis before the General Assembly and all year round with administrative processes and so forth, and member education and support, part of that too. So we hope to see many of you in August at our summer conference.
Just 5 weeks away.
Did you have something, Steve? I saw you lean forward earlier. I didn't know.
He's going for the kill.
Question.
Huh?
I always have a question.
That's what I figured.
On the emergency medical side, I don't yet know what the impact of that would be. First, on our normal inter-county operations, our EMS operation, but there's also within the county a strange phenomena, which is our central medical facility is actually Queenstown Emergency, which delivers to 2 or 3 different locations: Easton, Annapolis, sometimes Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland. And those are billed to the hospitals that the destinations are, because they're the ultimate customers. The inter-transport between the emergency ward and the hospital. But in any failure, Queen Anne's County is on the hook for the money. And you would think that wouldn't be much? We're in for several $100,000 right now. And I would like, Jack, you're involved in this thing. It'd be an interesting point to clear up, because it's not only a strange practice that we wind up
The inter-facility stuff you don't know? Yeah.
paying the hospital's bill, but typically those runs are very time conscious. I mean, if you're sending somebody to a hospital, it ought to go right away. There have been 5-hour delays for this outfit, which is signed up to move those customers, and it's a sole sourcing deal. And it used to be owned locally. Ownership went to the Western Shore. It's not looking too good. Give you a good thing to do.
No, it's, yeah, because obviously we basically, we're triage and transport at our emergency center because we don't have any observation beds. So it's basically you're looking for another bite at the apple is what you're looking at that point. Because the initial transport is paid for, but it's that inter-facility because we can't house anybody in Queen Anne's or Caroline for that matter without having a freestanding hospital. So that's our unique situation. But it could also, there's a lot of inter-facility transports like Steve's talking about with the, and I know because my dad just went through one where he actually got transported to AMC, but they couldn't get an ER bed in there, so they retransported him to Easton where they could get him at. So he was literally transported around for 4.5 hours before he got into an ER in the back of an ambulance, which ties up our emergency services, things like that. And there's a cost associated with that, there's no doubt. So that may be something we have to discuss at a higher level, but that, you know, it goes along with this in terms of cost. You know, that's what we were shooting for, was cost.
So I think Mako may be able to follow up to the commissioners with a letter on this, because I'm at about the level of my depth on the subject. I do know that interfacility transport was one of the items that got added to this bill for an additional study. So as Annapolis has sometimes wanted to do, hey, there's a related problem while this bill's going through, let's require MIMS and so forth to look at this particular issue. So I know there's a study coming out in that area. That's as far as I can go, but I'm glad to follow up with you all with a little more background on where that's heading. This is the first county that's raised it as a county government issue, but we know that there are hospitals and facilities who are deeply concerned that that's another hole in the boat here. So I'm glad to follow up with you on that.
Very good.
Interesting session this year, but always enjoyable. Always
For sure.
Enjoyable, so.
Well, thank you very much for your contributions.
Absolutely. And Chris, even though he's just on the big screen now. Chris is the
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Laura.
So look forward to Mako in a couple weeks and I guess figure out what the new initiatives are going to be and move forward with them.
Absolutely, we're in the middle of those, and we had round one a couple weeks ago. We'll do some more at the summer conference and get those whittled down by September. But thank you for getting us in. We were on the agenda, and then we got here. We weren't really on the agenda, and I'm like, I'm already here. So I appreciate that you made time for us. And
Do you
now,
need a sheriff's escort to your council meeting?
a sheriff's escort. Yeah, I better drive fast. Just nobody, clock me. I won't drive too fast. So, but thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Michael, thank you.
Good luck
Appreciate
to
it.
everybody
Very good
running.
seeing you again.
All right. Next presentation.
Yeah, all right. Thank you both. Okay, Commissioners, next we have character counts, proclamation. We have Kelly Huber, who's here. I believe she has some guests out there. If you can come on, I heard them out there practicing a few minutes ago, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
I'm excited.
Here they come.
there they come.
Is that what that was?
You want to turn to tab number 6, Commissioners? Tab 6, Item 1. And here comes Kelly, all right.
Here I come.
Kelly, all right.
We've got a big crowd. Come on, Jay. Wayne.
Hey,
Thank you, Wayne. Jay. We brought a big crowd with us today.
Yeah.
See that, that's good,
Good.
yeah.
goodness.
All right. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for having us here tonight and all your support and everything you guys do. We're joined here by a big group of people. I've got two people, Jay Kenty here. I've got Mike Clark in the back, another advisory member, and I have Wayne Humphreys. Wayne is actually one of the original Character Counts founders, right? I guess I would call you.
The original character.
There you go, the original, I like that one, the original character.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so over 22 years. Over 22
He
years.
was probably hoping you wouldn't go there,
I was only 5
Because he's
when I
only
started.
22, yeah, there you go.
right?
So Wayne, I didn't know if you wanted to share a little something?
Well, the only thing, I just on behalf of the Character Counts Advisory Council, just to thank you for taking the time to recognize our partners, our friends that each month prepare the proclamation. It's one of the things I think that really adds to the cohesiveness of the initiative in Queen Anne's County, is that from the very top on through the whole county, it's supported, and your support means a lot, because it's a recognition that what we're doing is worthy, and so thank you.
All right. So as far as from me, I mean, just a real quick, because I know we have something else going on in limited time, but we wrapped up another school year. Again, it was different, but we were in and out, and we definitely had coaches. We had some videos. We were able to do different things. We actually awarded our Teen of Character. She was a winner from Queen Anne's County High School. As far as that scholarship, it is sponsored by the Centerville Rotary, along with us. And the students can be self-nominated, or they can be nominated by other people. Brianna Schindler was our winner, and she was nominated by 6 different community members for what she did. And they each one wrote a little essay about her. So I thought that was really neat. I had never seen anything like that. So we were able to, award her the scholarship this year. I've been out recruiting because we're hoping and praying for a normal fall. So I've been out at the Shore Connection, Ken Island Days, marching in that very hot parade. I'm going to Queen Anne's County, the fair, the Peach Festival. So we're looking for coaches, and so I'm going to be out there finding them and getting ready to get started for next year. Let's see, we have some more friends that have joined us and kind of filled the room. So I'm going to introduce the group that wrote our proclamation. It is the American Heritage Girls from here, right here in Centerville. So we'll have them come up and talk a little bit, then maybe you can read the proclamation, and then they have a little treat for everyone. So, thank you.
Yes, thank
So
you.
we'll give them the chairs.
So Emma's going to tell you a little bit about who we are, and then we have a presentation for you. Go ahead, Emma. You're going to sit in the chairs and break this. Yep, you're good. You can do this.
We haven't bitten anybody in a long time.
Good evening. My name is Emma Coppage, and I am representing American Heritage Girls, Troop MD-0414. We are a faith-based organization that builds future women of integrity. We serve our families, community, country, and God. We have served over 4,000 service hours this year. You may have seen us at the Christmas parade, American Legion events, standing along the roadside, welcoming home fallen soldiers, and many other community events. We are here today to present the Character Counts Proclamation, state our pledge, and sing a song which represents all the pillars we stand for. Thank you for having us tonight.
Good job.
So if you want to read the proclamation.
Sure. Is it that? Yes.
That's your cue, Phil.
And I have that was my cue. I apologize for dropping the ball. Proclamation 22-39, whereas Queen Anne's County was declared a Characters Counts community, and whereas all citizens have been called upon to embrace the 6 pillars of character and to use them into their daily activities and to model these traits of good character. And whereas the Character Counts pillar of the month of July is citizenship. And whereas all citizens, including our teachers, police, firefighters, store owners, students, community workers, neighbors, family members, and friends will be good citizens. And whereas all citizens will follow the rules and the laws of our community, our county, schools, stores, sports events, and parks, and anywhere else they may gather. And whereas all citizens will help others, use manners, be kind and considerate of others' feelings, and do kind things for other people. And whereas all citizens will show integrity by following the golden rule and treating others as they wish to be treated. And whereas all citizens will honor their country, their family, and their community. And whereas all citizens will work together to make Queen Anne's County a wonderful place to visit, to live, and to work. Now, therefore, Queen Anne's County Commissioners and AHG Troop MD 0414 do hereby designate the Character Counts pillar of the month of July to be citizenship. This proclamation was written by the American Heritage Girls Troop MD 0414. Well done. Well done.
Facing you or this way, it doesn't, it's, you tell me.
Guys, either way.
So go ahead and stand up and face them, okay? So if you guys would stand.
Are you gonna stand
You're gonna stand up,
Stand, Chris.
scoot up. Yep, I need Allie, Morgan, and Emma on this side. You guys can all get scooted up together. Yep.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna start with our oath. So setting it off. Right, we're gonna start with our oath. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I promise to love God, cherish my family, honor my country, and serve in my community. Good job. And then we have a little song, and we're going to start with our leader on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I have a creed. I have a creed that I live by. That I live by. To help me choose. To help me choose the way that's right. The way that's right. I have a creed that I live by. To help me choose the way that's right. I'll be compassionate, helpful, and honest. I'll be loyal, persevering, and pure. I'll be resourceful, respectful, responsible, and reverent. This will be my creed. I have a creed. I have a creed that I live by. That I live by. To help me choose. To help me choose the way that's right. The way that's right. I have a creed that I live by. To help me choose the way that's right. That's right.
Well done. Well done. Well done. So we have a little treat for you. Commissioner Jack Wilson's going to hand these Queen Anne's County pins out. And since you guys are so good at wearing pins, so yes, wear them with pride.
Phil, get an application for Mark. Thank you.
Jack?
Did I miss?
Oh. They wanted to stay.
Yeah.
Can we stay?
I can stay all night. Yeah.
We'd have a crowd then.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. I'm not sure anybody can top that, but let's try.
That's good.
Move on.
Well, this one's good too. We have our next
this one says we're
presentation
getting a check, so yeah,
is a
okay.
presentation of a check. We have Mr. Jim Flaherty's here this evening, and I think Director Steve Chanley is with him this evening. So, Jim, you want to come on up? And Steve, you're welcome to join him if you like. And this is a presentation of a check to the commissioners, I believe, for some pickleball. Yeah, come on up, gentlemen.
Okay.
All right.
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies. I'm Jim Flaherty,
Can you move up a little
founder
bit?
of the,
Yeah,
this,
there you go.
okay. the original founder of the Krabby Pickleballers about 5 years ago in Queen Anne County, and started the group with about 15, 16 people, and over the years we've continued to grow and have become very large, as I'm sure you all know at this point in time. So we have over about 170 registered people in the club currently, and we estimate there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 70 other people that show up at different times, vacationers that come down, people have other homes, etc. So I've been working with Steve the past 4 years, okay, for court improvement and to get the new courts done. And we were so pleased when that was announced at the February, I think it was the February meeting, that we were going to build the 10 courts, and that was unanimous, okay, by your group. And we were just all so excited. The next day at pickleball, it was like just another party that we have, and everybody's looking forward to it. And then we had the long wait. But the wait was not that long, and Steve's prediction of when we would get on the court got more and more accurate as we got down to the day before.
Good guess.
Not too hard then.
Punxsutawney Phil's got nothing on you.
But I can't say enough about Steve and his team and the support that they've given us and how they guided us through when we've helped guide them through in getting the 10 new courts. Obviously, I think they're a showcase for the community. We're getting rave reviews throughout, and it's very rewarding to see the 10 courts and to see the 10 courts filled up. So since we opened approximately a month ago, we've had 7 different times that I'm aware of that we've had a full house with all 10 courts filled up. And this past weekend, I think we set some type of record, but don't know exactly what it would be. Not only did we have the 10 courts filled up, but we had about 15 to 20 people waiting to get on and move through the queue. And it was really, really neat. And it's just been so rewarding. Even during the weekdays, we've had 10 courts filled about 5 times, and that's in the morning. And I can't tell you how rewarding that is for me to see that, because most of the players that come out during the weekday mornings are retired people and senior citizens, okay? And this sport has been great throughout the country for senior citizens, and we're getting all sorts of rave reviews from psychologists and other people who are studying the effects of pickleball and getting the extra exercise outside, the hand-eye coordination that improves over time, and evidently that has something to do with cognitive responses that they think is very important as people get older and older. We have some people that are over 80 that are playing on not a routine basis, but they're showing up. We have a large group that's probably 65 to 75, and then we have a younger group as well. In the evenings, we've had courts filled once or twice, I'm not sure, but once for sure, we had all 6 courts going, so we had 40 people there, and there were some people waiting too. We get a different group there, the people coming home from work, and some of our more, I guess, pickleball crazy people who like to go out not only in the morning, but play in the evening, we get them there too. So, but we really appreciate it, and job well done.
So what about tournaments? I've been Facebook friends with a couple of folks that are avid pickleballers, and they travel around and they compete in tournaments, and
Okay.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Anything planned for the future for us here? Or?
We will be doing some tournaments, entering that arena, and I'm sure, their organization will probably do some on their own, so it'll be a combination, of them separately and us separately, but also some, together as well. Because like you said, you could, with 10 courts, it's hard not to have a tournament.
Right.
Somebody is definitely going to be knocking on our door to have one if we don't do it. Ourselves.
We're going to do it.
Yeah, so are we.
Yeah, we're going to do it. So tournaments are interesting. There's tournaments almost every week, on the eastern shore here, up and down the shore. There's tournaments over the western part of the state. So every week, if you want to play in a tournament, tournaments, if you win the tournament, you get sanctioned to go to the nationals. Okay, so a lot of people are really aggressive in doing that and playing tournaments almost every week. So it's quite a big thing. I've been to 4 tournaments on the eastern shore here. I've been to Easton 3 times now. They usually have about 180 to 200 people sign up for their tournaments. So it's an all 3-day event normally, and they do different groups on the different days. But Saturday's the big day when it's the open tournament for all age groups based on where you rank in the system, et cetera. So it's quite an event, But Steve and I will talk about that more later, okay? We do have internal tournaments that we do. We have one coming up in 2 weeks here that we'll do on a Saturday morning, okay? And we'll probably have 6 courts going at once. So we always have available courts for anybody that wants to come in that isn't involved in what we're trying to do. So, but we're doing that internally.
Are the matches self-refereed?
Pardon me?
Are they self-refereed?
Yes, everything's self-refereed until the final games. The final games, you get a scorekeeper. Okay, I don't know why, but we do that. So, but it's lots of fun. You hear lots of yelling and screaming and excitement, and it's just really lots and lots of fun. And I can't say it for sure 100%, but the beginners group, okay, normally have the most people in it, okay, and they seem to have the most fun because they don't care where they hit the ball or if they hit the ball, and they get excited about their good shots and all, and it's just so much fun for them as well.
So one last thing that we'd like to add is not only is it open to all citizens to play, whether it's, just for fun or what have you. Our recreation department also puts on classes as well, and Jim happens to be one of our instructors. And
very good.
I know we're on limited time, so if we want to go ahead and do the presentation, I think it would probably be timely.
Take lessons,
to do
Jim.
so.
Yeah.
Pickleball.
So, as some of you are aware, I'm sure, Carol Cassio passed away about 8 months ago. She did a lot of volunteer things in the community for years and years. Her and her husband were involved. She did dancing and just all sorts of community things. And she started playing pickleball about, I guess it was 4 years ago, maybe 5. I gave her lessons and worked with her for probably 6 or 8 weeks, once a week, twice a week. And then she would come and play, and I'd always make sure I played with her. I try to play with any of my students just to try to make them more comfortable going on the court and getting used to the rules and regulations. I got a surprise call in the middle of March by a lawyer in Easton, and she said, "Jim, I've been trying to get a hold of you. I finally found you." She said, Carol Cassio passed away? And I said, yes. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to the funeral because I wanted to go. We were busy doing something. And she said, well, Carol left you $300,000, okay, to use for pickleball in Queen Anne County. So I dropped the phone, okay, and just so pleased and amazed, okay, that she chose me. But she was a sweetie. We had a very, very nice relationship over the years. As she got cancer, she would come in and she'd stand around, and her and I would talk when she was there the whole time. I went over and visited her house a number of times, and just a sweet, sweet lady. So overwhelmed with the donation. So I started talking to Steve initially, okay, on what we could do with the money in Queen Anne County, and he looked at a number of opportunities, and we decided that we'd give a gift to the county, okay, and we also gave a gift to the YMCA because they're building new courts in the county as well. So we were able to work with Steve and work with Gil, Robbie Gill.
Robbie Gill.
Okay, and so we were able to do 2 checks. And so what I have here today is I'd like to present a check, okay, or a copy of the check, I should say. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Queen Anne County, okay, in the sum of $40,000, okay, to be used for pickleball in Queen Anne County. Okay. Steve and I have discussed a number of things. We have some things that we want to do with some of the money and what we like to do. And Steve and I have talked about this at length, that we like to put some stands in there, okay, that'd be off the court, okay, like to put in some park benches, and we like to put an overhead shade.
Pavilion.
So we're still working on that. Steve's trying to design that and go for that. But just your decision to do this, okay, and being able to work with Steve has been a pleasure, and I really appreciate it. Thank you kindly on behalf of the Queen Anne County Krabby Pickleballers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Yeah.
We'll take it.
Great, thanks, Jim. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Jim, good seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I carry my paddle everywhere.
There you
Just in
go.
case the pickup game comes in.
So, thank you.
Take care.
All right.
Yeah, Steve, buddy.
See you, friend.
There you go.
All right, thanks, Jim.
It's to be noted, we've got 10 more courts coming on from the Y, so on we go.
Okay.
All right, Commissioners, that's all the presentations we have planned for this evening, so we can now move into our new business for tonight's meeting. So first, we have the Department of Public Works, and if you want to flip to tab number 2, we have a couple of items for Public Works. The first item, under tab 2, item number 1, is the Baltimore Metropolitan Council agreement for the Unified Planning Work Program for fiscal '23. And this is something we do annually with the BMC. We have a contract with them for projects that we work cooperatively with the other members of the BMC. Steve Cahoon is our staff contact person for this, and this is the annual contract for the work this year, which is for $60,000. 80% of that is funded through BMC, and 20% is our local in-kind match that we use shared services and support services. So could I get a motion on that?
I move to approve and execute the Unified Planning Work Program Agreement with the Baltimore Metropolitan Council for FY 2023.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Got one up there.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Item number 2 on page 11 is a right-of-way deed of dedication for the enclave at Prospect Bay West. And so it's a 40-foot wide right-of-way, Masters Way, that's been completed to county road standards and ready for acceptance as a county roadway.
I move to execute the deed of dedication for the enclave at Prospect Bay West.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. That's all for Public Works, unless you got any questions for any of them. All right, we can move to tab number 3, action items. We have, first item under tab 3 is on page 1, is a signature request for the Mattapique Industrial Park grant. This is the semi-annual progress report for that grant that we used for construction of the Mattapique Industrial Park down on Route 8, Sunny Shorts Boulevard.
I move to approve and sign the semi-annual progress report as presented for the Community Development Block Grant number MD-11-ED-70 regarding Mattapique Industrial Park, which covers the time period of January 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2022.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Item 2 on pages 5 through 14 is the amended perpetual protective agreement deed of forest conservation for the James Tolson subdivision. So, and I want to point out here, if you had a chance to look at, there's an exhibit that we've prepared for these. We get a number of these from time to time. It's very Easy to see the change in what they're trying to do here, and you can see they're modifying the forest conservation area to provide for access to lots number 3 there. So it's good visual perspective on some of these more complicated land adjustments. So our planning department has reviewed this, prepared this, and recommends approval.
I move to sign the amended perpetual protective agreement deed of forest conservation easement document for the James Tolson subdivision forest conservation plan.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Okay.
All right, thanks, Commissioners. Item number 3 on page 15 is a similar agreement. This is for the Sam Kern Administrative Subdivision. This is the 3rd amended deed of open space easement for that project.
I move to sign the 3rd amended deed of open space easement for the Samuel Kern Administrative Subdivision.
Second.
Get a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Stevie, you and I?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Aye.
5-0. All right.
All right, thanks, Commissioners. Item number 4 on page 24 through 39 is a citizen-sponsored text amendment number 22-03, repeal of Woodland provisions. And this is a citizen-sponsored text amendment application submitted by Mr. Barry Waterman. It has gone to the Planning Commission. They have reviewed it and made a favorable recommendation, so it is available now for introduction and scheduling of a public hearing.
I move to introduce and schedule a public hearing regarding TA/CO number 22-03 as favorably reviewed by Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Item number 5 on page 40 is another citizen-sponsored text amendment number 2205, major extraction on a non-contiguous parcel. This one was actually withdrawn by the applicant earlier this week, so this one's no need for any action on this particular text amendment.
Okay, number 6.
I'll table that. All right, our next item, number 6 on page 72, is citizen-sponsored text amendment number 2207 for bonus density on mixed-use residential density in the Waterfront Village Center. This is proposed by Jamal's of Kent Narrows, LLC. And this also got a favorable recommendation by the Planning Commission, and so the action tonight would be to schedule a public hearing, introduce and schedule a public hearing.
Take a motion?
I move to introduce and schedule a public hearing regarding text amendment / county ordinance number 22-07 as favorably reviewed by the Planning Commission.
Second? I'll second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
All right.
It's just a hearing.
And I believe we're going to set those 2 hearings for, do we have a date? Ms. Halk?
August the 9th.
August the 9th for those 2 hearings. Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, number 7.
All right, action item number 7 on page 97 is the minor subdivision termination of open space easement for the Wilson Walls subdivision. This is a termination of open space as a result of their creation of a slide scale lot.
Get a motion?
I move to sign the termination of open space easement document for the A. Wilson Walls Farm LLC minor subdivision number 21-11-0273.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Some good news now. Item number 8 is from Chesapeake College, and this is a revised FY23 budget and fund balance request from the college. They received an additional $1.3 million from the Senator John A. Cade funding formula as a result of the Budget and Reconciliation Financing Act. This will go towards their teacher salaries, and they also are requesting a one-time fund balance transfer of $100,000 for several projects. the Queen Anne Technical Building Program Statement Consultants to hire some folks to help them with that, and a new software system to provide for applicant tracking and onboarding of professional development for human resources. And no additional county dollars from the supporting counties is required. If you want Dr. Coppersmith to come in and present anything on this, he can. I know several of the other counties have already approved this. They just need all 5 counties to endorse this change.
I move to approve the Chesapeake College revised FY 2023 budget by function, $26,332,082, and the request for a one-time fund balance transfer of $100,000 for the designated projects.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I didn't know we had any oversight of the segmentation of their funds.
Well, we have the ability to, the counties, for any transfers from fund balance over for projects, and then this is just to approve their overall budget, because they got additional funds from the state, which is good.
It's not an objection, it's a question. Yeah.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay. All right, thank you, Commissioners. And item number 9, our last action item this evening, is the standard letter we receive each year for the county's financial audit, which outlines terms and conditions for the engagement. This is from UHY, which is the old TMG Corporation. It is merged now. It's a larger firm now, same auditing company we've used for a number of years.
I move to have Commissioner Corchirino sign the audit engagement letter.
Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
5-0. All right. I think that's
All right, thank you, Commissioners. That is all of the action items we had this evening, unless you had anything else for myself. Okay, all right. We have press and public comments, part 2. Is there anybody for press and public comments?
Everybody signed about time?
Ask if anybody.
Anybody in the room? Put some public comment? All right, we'll close it.
All right. Round table.
Stevie, you want to start off?
Please, no, go ahead, somebody else.
You know what, I'll tell you what, I'll go first.
I have to come.
I'll go first. Earlier, for the folks that missed it, and for the folks that, are watching at home, we had a great presentation from our representatives from MACO, and I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention Jack's commitment over the years to MACO, and the fact that he's a board member, and the hard work and the hours that he puts in above and beyond his responsibilities as a commissioner. And I know that he is slotted to be the MACO president, which would go a long way for Queen Anne's County. He's slotted to be president in 2 years. So, Jack, thank you very much for all your hard work. And it's much appreciated for the people to understand the great work that MACO does, and your effort to hold up Queen Anne's County's end. Thank you. Thank you. That's all I have.
Jim?
I really, along those lines, Todd and I will be venturing out of town here next week, right on the 20th, for the Baltimore Metropolitan Council. We're going to Detroit. I said as a board member there, and Todd's coming along to keep me straight, but we're going to spend 3 days with other county execs and look at Detroit and what they're doing, and hopefully that'll translate for some cures and fix-alls for city of Baltimore. But it was interesting to find out about the ballots. So there'll be some people on that plane that might not know if they even won yet. So moving forward, so that ought to be interesting. But looking forward to going to Detroit. So something different.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's also important to have representation here in Queen Anne's County on that board.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of time that you put in for that, Jim.
Well, now we're gonna get the HUR money back.
Well, I mean,
Please.
obviously, you heard him say that the cliff is, cliff is imminent. It's just, every time you get up to the cliff, they get a few more crumbs thrown at them, but it's, honestly, Stevie, and that's a great question, and I didn't really want to prolong it with Michael here, but it's one that's actually bannered about a lot, is the fact that obviously most people understand or don't understand HURs are derived from gas tax and vehicle registration fees and the various things that go through MVA and all, that's how we get it. And the question's been asked, it's been asked several different times and never really kind of got a good answer is, we're going to try to make this move to electric vehicles, primarily electric vehicles. Well, if gas tax is your primary source of highway user revenues and you no longer need gas, how do they do it? And there's been things floated out there like, oh, we'll track mileage, we'll do this and that, and how about electric usage on the grid? And that's one of the things I brought up coming from that side is how I think is, we're not taxing the fuel industry anymore, but we still have to make the energy at everybody's homes to charge their cars every night or at every, retail spot. Where's all that electric going to come from to do that? And how are you monitoring or metering that to maybe capture revenue on that side? So they've got a lot of thinking to do, because as that dwindles, the likelihood of us ever being fully restored to HURs also dwindles, because that pot of money is going to grow smaller if, we truly do make that shift to all electric vehicles, which I don't think I'll see in my lifetime. But again, it's just part of the whole mechanism with how they develop those dollars that is changing now, based on what we're doing.
Well, it certainly does raise an interesting point, because electric vehicles get their electric, which is generated by natural gas, which has gone from $2 to $6 in the last year.
Right.
And the idea that electric is going to stay at this cost is going to be an interesting question. This is going to impose a real burden on a lot of people who heat with electric and use electric. So.
Yeah, no doubt. And not to mention the cost, the capital cost to most homeowners who, if they have two cars and they want to charge them both at night, you're talking about anywhere from a 30 to 60 amp additional breaker required in your house. And if you're in an all-electric house, smaller house, even 2,000 square feet or below, you're probably close to the panel's capacity at that point anyway. So now now people are going to have to go out and pay for heavy ups at their houses. You got a 1,500 square foot home, but you need a 400 amp service because you got two cars that you got to charge every night. So there's a lot of challenges coming with that whole thing that they just don't talk about every day. That's all.
Yeah, because it takes the fairness away. In a sense, if you charged it by vehicle, then light users would wind up paying the same, where gasoline, it's more.
It's definitely got an economic side to it, that's for sure. Yeah.
Anyway.
Chris.
Well, I've enjoyed lording over you guys from the big screen today. I want to thank Commissioner Wilson for stepping up to lead the meeting to accommodate my schedule. Remind all the people, primaries Tuesday, please get out and vote. Commissioner Moran and Todd, enjoy the county private jet to Detroit. Have a nice time.
Okay. Really, that's what you're ending with? The county private jet?
Because then everybody on Facebook, they have a jet.
Did we get one yet, Bruce?
Yeah, it's electric.
You already got one for it?
It's an electric jet.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to kind of dovetail what Chris said about elections. Let's just all remember our proclamation night with citizenship. Elections can sometimes bring out the worst side of people, but at the end of the day, we all have to remember, well, hopefully it was going to be July 19th someday, but maybe July 26th we'll find out, and just remember we all got to coalesce and wake up the next morning. We're neighbors and family and friends and all that, and the elections, though they have consequences, they are not the end of the world for, at least in the United States, thank God. So that's all I got.
So far.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion a second, so moved.
Boom.